Yo, what's up, people? It's another episode of the Other Side of the Sun podcast. I am the Solarkidd, and today I have my Uncle Dougie, all the way from South Africa, and we're gonna be talking about a few things of influence and spirituality, philosophy, and maybe a bit of waffling. Hopefully, not too much. So, say hi, Doug, to the people. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to connect with you.
So, the reason I got my uncle on here is because in my personal spiritual journey, he has been an influence, very, very subtle influence. And I mean, I appreciate that so much. Like I'll tell you a little bit about the point. So when I was in my teens, I used to stay a lot. Well, actually my whole childhood, I used to stay a lot at my grandparents' house, because all my friends were there in Bossmont and whatever. And I used to sleep in, was it your old room? Was that your old room in the corner?
Yeah, in the back room, yes.
Back room. So that used to be my room, and he had obviously moved out years ago, but there were two quotes on the wall. And the first one was Khalil Gibran quote that said, "Think not you can guide the course of love, for love finding you worthy shall guide your course." And the other one was the Serenity Prayer, Mother Teresa. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I slept in that room, and those quotes on the wall, and I did not realize that just looking at those words on the wall would have such a profound effect on my life and stay with me for my whole life, basically, through everything. There's Adele in the background there. Hello, Adele.
How are you doing?
Welcome to the,
No, it's fine.
I'm just bringing him some coffee.
that's good. Welcome to the podcast.
Are you well? You look great. I love
you.
your look.
Thank you.
Wow. I'll leave you.
Thank you.
Love your family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, those quotes were still are very important, and they stay with me. I don't even have to think about them. They just show up in my mind sometimes. And then there was another point when I was about 18, 19, I think. And you gave me this folder. It was a folder where you had to like draw out your goals, and you had to write out like,
yes, now I remember.
Remember that? Yeah. So like this thing, it had like all these like tasks that you had to do in order to like kind of visualize your goals and write down your
goal setting.
Goal setting. Yep. So that was a big one. And then another point was when I was about, I don't know if it was before I left for London, but you gave me Conversations with God.
Yes, correct. I remember that too.
That was a good one. I mean, when I was 18, my mother gave me, 18 or 19, my mother also gave me The Alchemist, which was also a big, catalyst for my path. And I mean, including my poetry as well. But,
maybe that's where my book landed up.
What's that? All your books?
the Alchemist.
Yeah, well, probably. And I mean, the Prophet was one of your books that I had, and I kept.
Oh yes.
So yes. I mean, I actually bought a physical copy like a year ago just to have here as well, and I've got it on my phone as well in PDF. But so all these things were like checkpoints in my life, and just I like the fact that I was influenced subtly, because I was always rebellious, and when people tried to I went through a phase where I was very religious, and like I say religious because I was just in the whole Christianity sphere, and I wasn't conscious. I'd say I was very religious, but I wasn't conscious. For me, it was like, this is right, you wrong, you going to hell if you don't do this and that. And like, it never sat that well with me, basically. I always felt slightly uncomfortable, because I always felt like, how can only one way be the right way when there's so much history, there's so many different cultures, there's so many different people in the world. And it led me to more discovery and searching. So when I worked at the airport and I was like 23, I just started researching loads of different religions, Rastafarianism, Taoism, Buddhism, Islam, everything, and like Judaism. All these things just led me on this journey. But when my uncle comes in, he like really influenced me in that. So I want to talk to you about your journey. Like, you always said when you were growing up, you also had those similar feelings. Like you never felt like what a lot of people were saying, your uncles, the way they related to people, or I mean, obviously you lived in apartheid South Africa, which was a weird time. I mean, a lot of people in the world won't even understand what that's like. You know, I mean, for us, we are so-called colored people, which are basically people of mixed origin. And when I say mixed, I don't mean my mother's white and my father's black, or my grandfather's black. We talking about years and years of mixture, and then this government pushing us all into one group and saying, you guys are called colored or Cape colored or Cape Malay, and this is it. So it was very confusing. So I mean, tell us a bit about your early years and your experiences with, you know, just life in South Africa and spirituality, or how you got drawn to certain things. Or...
Yeah, I think, of course, we were in a traditional congregational church sort of family life. Mama Hay and Daddy Arthur, great influences in that respect. But there was a time, so we did like youth and boys brigade and girls brigade and all that, you know, at the church in Boston. And I think I must have been about like 14 years old or so. But so yes, I think it was youth. But the minister's daughter found that she wants to chase me around in the church.
Who's that, Reverend Thorne?
Reverend Thorne's daughter, yeah. And I was very put off by this. I mean, you know, it's the Reverend's daughter, and this is such a sacred place. How could she do that? And that was the turning point. From that point on, I just like didn't believe in all this, you know, this religion stuff. Although I had to go because your parents, you know, told you to go and so on, but I was really put off by that specific.
Just because you're chasing you around the church.
Yes,
you're a good guy, man.
It's the minister's daughter, you know. I mean, surely she can have like
some decency.
You know, yeah. So anyway, as I finished school and started working, that was in '76 or so. So I can remember my first job in Braamfontein, and that is where, you know, a lot of the protests were happening.
Well, '76 was a heavy year, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was really a tumultuous time. Me with my afro, you know, sometimes going out and actually having a police, a van load of police coming to you and saying, you know, you must cut this hair off, otherwise we'll take it off, and you know, just really? Yeah, they stopped you in the street and they, you know, take whatever you have in the car that doesn't seem to be good for them. But at that time, I came across a book. I think it was the Maharishi who had visited the Beatles, because in the it was, I think it was in the 70s that he visited London.
Okay.
And introduced meditation to at that specific time to the Western world. And I found a book, and I read this book, and it really, you know, had an effect on me. But I put it down, and I never thought of it again. I got married, and you know, as things went, had children, got divorced. But then about 16 years ago, 17, 18 maybe, I joined the School of Practical Philosophy. And I thought, you know, at that time, I'm going to well, those were my young days. Anything else? Yes, and I played rugby for the All Blacks, you know.
Wow, which All Blacks?
All Blacks.
Not the New
Ooh.
Zealand All Blacks.
No, it is a local club. Yeah, that is a great time in one's life, playing lock for the All Blacks. That's quite cool.
Well, I suppose, I mean, in those days, most non-white people supported the All Blacks anyway, when it came to...
Oh, yes, yes, yes. When there were any tests and so on, we'd be All Black supporters.
Yeah, no one was
at
supporting
that
South
time.
Africa.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, tell us a bit about your spiritual journey. Like, what things, I mean, is there anything in particular?
Yeah, so as I said, I joined the School of Practical Philosophy, and I really thought that I'd be sort of studying philosophy as such, you know, formal sort of university manner or style.
Mm.
And it didn't end up like that. There was an introduction to all sorts of ideas. Now, one at that time was, just very close. There was, like you said, it was Christianity. That was it,
Or nothing.
and there were staid ideas about certain things. And one was introduced in the early years in the school, in the foundation level of the School of Practical Philosophy, to numerous ideas, and ideas that were propounded by numerous sources, from Indian philosophy to Western philosophy, a whole variety of philosophy. And one was asked, just listen to these ideas, and if you feel it's good for you, just adopt it. If it's not, then just leave it up. But it was amazing how, as one were introduced to these ideas, you started becoming really inclusive of everything around you, new ideas and so on. Even the way you related to people around you, friends, family, and so on. There was a huge turnaround in, and even just exploring. Before that, I hardly ever read anything. And I've become a real prolific reader, and in a sense of various different ideas and philosophy and so on, but mainly in the ancient Eastern philosophies that come out of the Upanishads and
Vedas.
Sorry?
Vedas.
The Vedas, yes, exactly. The Bhagavad Gita and so on. So yes, a lot of those ideas have now are being practiced and becoming part of my life.
So before that, you weren't actually, just didn't believe anything?
No, I wasn't practicing.
Would you say you were like, agnostic, or? I wouldn't say.
I thought myself, because from that point, I mean, I went to church and so on, got the kids were confirmed in church and so on. I saw myself as an atheist, actually.
Did you ever tell your brothers and sisters that? Because they would have been freaked the hell out.
Oh no! As I started studying and really getting involved in the practical philosophy, I started studying Sanskrit. And my brother Graham told me I'm a devil worshipper. As I was practicing the handwriting and the sounding, the shruti and so on, he told me, you devil, you're a devil.
Why now? Because you were practicing Sanskrit?
Yes. And I was reciting Sanskrit shruti and verses and so on. He said that. But then as time went on, because we worked together in the company, in the Siny Tool company, and I was practicing, and still am practicing meditation. So as I was practicing meditation, but one time he came to me and said, "You know what? Did you actually meditate this morning? Because I'm not having a nice day. There's something wrong here. Are you sure you meditated?" So I think from that time he started accepting what I was studying and so on. Because certainly there was, I mean, in the household, working with him, there was a marked change in the way he behaved, the way things went in the household. Yeah, much calmer, not so.
It's interesting that what you're talking about, you know, him calling you a devil worshiper and stuff, because those are emotions and feelings or things that I've had to work out of my system, because you grow up with this perception that's been indoctrinated in you. I used to feel like any time I was around an Indian temple, or you know, being in a place like that, or even like a Muslim, anything that's different to what you are, you feel like this is like wrong. It's not it's, you know what I mean? It's, you know, and literally that comes
worshipping idols.
Yeah, worshipping idols and all the stuff. I mean, it comes from, like, now that I've delved into it myself, and you know, I mean, Hinduism actually believe in one God, even though they've got loads of different, you know, deities. You know, that's what I'm saying. It comes from a place of ignorance, like, you know, that whole feeling or perception of how, and I mean, it's such a beautiful faith, Hinduism. Like, you know, I've grown to like, Krishna is probably one of my favorite deities now, you know, like just the whole philosophy and the stories behind him, and, you know, who he was and the things he did, and even like the things they do, or in Buddhism, and you know, Siddhartha and the Buddha, you know what I mean, the stories of his life. It's when you actually, like, it's easy to dismiss something. It's like I'll say, like, me coming home from London to South Africa, and I see some of my Owens blooming on the corner or whatever, and they've never been outside, or they've never been to London, and they're like, London is like this, it's not nice there, or whatever. And I'm thinking,
exactly,
but you've never even been there, or you never experienced it, so how can you have an opinion about this? And it's that same thing.
Yes,
you know, it's that lack of understanding, and
yes. So that ignorance lifts as one explores these ideas. It's ideas like, you know, many people don't know what beauty is, really. Many people don't know what happiness is. Many people don't know what is it is, how, or what it is to really just be present in the moment, presence of mind. So all these ideas are not explored at all. We just take in what has been fed to us, as you said, and it stays with us. And you know, when you get to a certain age, nobody can tell you anything.
yeah, that's the thing.
That is
So
it.
closed.
Yes.
It only takes like generally a near death experience, or some extreme circumstance to kind of jog you, or, like, you know, I don't know, like push you into, like, I'll equate it to like people who are drugs,
experience.
yeah, or like drug addictions, and then all of a sudden they find faith. And, you know, I find that like Christianity or Islam and stuff is really good for that, or any type of religion, like, because it helps people who have gone to the extreme of, like, you know, drugs or whatever, bring them back to kind of who they are and whatever, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it usually takes something like a life-changing experience to kind of to get over that. So I mean, you have this, I mean, you've been studying this, and you have this philosophy. Like, I would say it must be quite challenging, because in a place like South Africa, where it's a very diverse country, but people are very like set in their ways. Whereas in London, I can go to a transcendental meditation center at any time, anywhere. You know, I can meet people from different faiths and, you know, different parts of the world. So, like, what's it like for you navigating firstly, the tension in because South Africa is a pretty tense place. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful place, don't get me wrong. People are the most friendliest you'll find ever, but there is tension in many areas, you know, when it comes to race or religion or, you know, your culture. So how do you navigate that with your meditation?
Well, at the start, so this is about maybe 18 years ago, 17 years ago. It was difficult. I mean, you know, when your brother can tell you you're a devil worshipper, you can imagine what everybody else. And the whole that at that time, the school was mainly white, people attending the school, and so that was a challenge for me. Although I normally when something like that, when I'm faced with something like that, I just give it up and go. But I stuck with it. And right now, it's like it's 180 degrees turn in the way things and people have accepted each other.
Mm.
It's truly a rainbow nation.
Mm.
People are embracing each other's differences. There are so many young people who are now coming into the doors of the School of Practical Philosophy and are warming to the aspect of meditation. In these times, and well, even before this pandemic struck, that people are drawn to the whole aspect of stillness and being able uh, to be in a situation where they are more aware of what's happening around them. People want that. And that equates to happiness. People are searching for that happiness. And one finds that as the mind is stalled, that happiness is experienced.
Mm.
So even we've now found that sure we've introduced an online philosophy session, 10 months, 10-week sessions, and there were over 85 people who registered for this.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, and the draw there was the meditation. So that's going well, and it's you know, it's a broad spectrum of people who have now been attracted to this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This aspect of meditation and being able to fall still. So the school is situated. The Johannesburg school is situated in a city area called Jeppystown, and it's I mean, there are people from all over the world. Well, it's really Africa-centric. It used to be that area and Hillbrow and so on. It used to be Eurocentric. It's just yes.
Could you take me there? Is that where the Sangomas have all the medicines and stuff as well?
Very close to there. Yeah.
Okay.
Close to there. Yeah. So so in Jeppystown, a lovely community. And we also have a community project which I head and coordinate, where the children from the immediate vicinity come on a Saturday afternoon to just enjoy themselves. So, you know, we offer them things like cycling and arts and crafts. And we've introduced just what we call a stillness exercise, where you fall still and connect with your senses and just pause throughout the period that they're there at various intervals, just fall still and so on. And well, the amazing change in attitude from the smallest, like the 3-year-old to the 16-year-old. um, compared to children who just come in. There's a marked difference in the way they present themselves. And it's just through practice of this once a week of this stillness exercise, and pausing during various activities, just falling still.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So the community in Jeffreyston, this has been going for about 12 years, and the parents, in fact, 55% of the household there were single parent, mother headed families, and so it's quite difficult. But I think with the program that we've set up there, yes, it's made a huge difference, and actually children take that home with them, and introduce it to their families.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you guys set up any sort of donation kind of scheme, or like, because what you can do, what I'll do is, if you can send me, like, if there's any links and stuff that I can put in the description of this video, like if people want to support or help out the school,
yes,
that would be like really cool as well.
Yes. So mainly we've been sort of funded by, we've received a lot of funds from all over the world, mainly from the school in London. But yes, we're actually in the throes of setting up a website and a specific program to acquire technology for the children who attend there, because they're finding it difficulty to actually, with the schoolwork and so on.
Okay.
So we're busy with that. Yeah. And I'll let you know as soon as that.
Yeah, just send it to me. Send it to me when you can. Just before I move on to the next thing, I wanted to speak to you a bit about COVID and about the situation in South Africa. But before that, just to like, not close, but just to finish on the philosophy aspect of it. What does duality mean to you? And how would you, because like that is something for me that, I think not for me, I think everybody struggles with the duality of life, like dealing with the trappings of Maya, so to speak, like if I'm quoting some philosophy there, because even when you are on a spiritual path or you're not on a spiritual path, I think if you're not on a spiritual path, maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing, maybe it's easier because then you don't have to think about, trying to improve yourself or growing closer to a spirit or whatever you believe in. Because then when you do something wrong or you fall into your old ways or your old trappings or your old bad habits, so to speak, you don't feel as bad. Whereas with me, there's still things and traits and stuff that I do, I don't even feel comfortable saying it because they're from the darkest depths of my being, you know what I mean? When that happens to me, it's like I'm getting better at, because they teach you that it's all part of it. Without darkness there's no light, without light there's no darkness. In the yin and yang symbol, it's all encompassing of life. So that's how I feel about it. So to you, like, what is duality, and what do you feel about it, like, and how do you navigate that as well?
Okay. Yeah. So the philosophy that one is now studying right now is Advaita, which is not two. So it's non-duality. But the thing is that we are householders. We're living in this world. You're not sitting on the top of the Himalayas and
meditating all day and
reciting the Vedas and so on. You're in it. You're in it. So on the spiritual path, one is introduced to this non-duality. And the thing is that when you're on the spiritual path, you can't drag anybody with you. It is a solo mission. It's a solo mission. So in yes, we practice, and the meditation helps to allow one to attain that feeling of oneness. When we're in the world, it's hardly easy to actually practice that non-duality. So in this world, in our trappings, in the physical world, there's really there isn't oneness, and we see that all around.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things I had to realize. When I was younger, because
Yes.
when I was younger, I'd learned something like, say, I'd get born again or going to religion, and it's like you want to tell everybody, you want everybody to, but it doesn't work like even your wife or your best friend or whatever. It's like you can't force them to experience what or like to gain the enlightenment or progress that you're having, and you can't. It's like you say, it's a solo mission, and that
So
acceptance.
this mission is So this mission is to practice oneness. You see, and in so doing, the experience is just raising the single pointed oneness, embracing everything, embracing everybody. So that is the practice.
I mean, I think I'm getting.
So you're right. Yes.
I mean, I'm not getting. I mean, you don't get anyway. It's not like you. I think that's another thing is you don't reach a point and then you've got it all.
No, because you're at that point already. We're all at that point, actually.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't see it. It's covered by all our, can I say it, all our shit.
Yeah, you can say this is YouTube.
Yes, so those coverings are there. I mean, our body, our mind, what we eat, all these things. Even our happiness, our so-called happiness, is also just a covering. Everything that we know is a covering. So we need to transcend all those coverings, and that's practice. And one does get a glimpse of that. So yes, there is duality, that is there, but it's the practice to actually experience the oneness, the non-duality.
Non-duality. Yeah.
And one experiences it in various ways. Yeah. I've got grandchildren. I've got your nieces and nephews, and to be with them is a most wonderful experience. Just to be childlike, because you can't when you're with children. It's like there's no covering. There's no covering. So you've got to attend to them. You've got to be fully there with them. If your mind is somewhere else, or your attention sort of gets taken away, there's no connection.
Yeah.
There's
And
no
you have to relate to them from their level or from their understanding, you can't expect them just to grasp concepts and things that you've now learned through your life and then all of a sudden be like, you must do it like this. They haven't even,
Exactly. And one sees the ways in which one can introduce these ideas. And children are beautiful that way. The ideas that they grasp and they actually start taking in. Whoa, it is, whether it is the concept of the idea of love, the concept of the idea of beauty, Yes, introducing them to the elements that how these physical bodies are constructed of.
Mm.
I mean, what is air? I mean, you can't like touch it really, but
Yeah.
to a child, you can actually introduce those ideas or those things. It's beautiful, beautiful art.
Yeah.
So connecting with that, just to stay with it, because it's in this moment that everything happens, that all experience is gained.
No, I find with me like
Not any.
with my kids, like, I've always had this kind of big brother complex. So like it's the same with like my story. Like I always want to like show people because I found something that works for me. I want to teach them. So like with my kids, I've kind of taken a different approach where Isabella, she's from the time she's been born, she's always seen me doing yoga. She's always seen me exercising. She's always seen me playing guitar and doing things. And I've never been like, you must come and do this or do this. She just gravitates towards me. Some days when I'm in a yoga class, she'll come and she'll just do it with me. She'll do maybe 5-10 minutes or whatever, and then she'll get bored and go away. And that I find and I feel will be more beneficial. I think there will be a time where she'll need more like constructive learning instruction, like where she says she wants to learn piano and I have to teach her something. But even with that, like with Max and the other, like I'll just go and then just go on the keyboard and go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then a few days later, I'll see them doing it by themselves. Like
Yes.
there's so many different ways
Yes.
of intriguing them. But I find that showing them through or you doing something personally is the best way of teaching a concept that you're trying to get across to somewhere else. Like you have to obviously believe it and do it yourself. I can't teach you about yoga or spirituality and stuff and then I don't even do it. It's like, what do you mean? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a story in a book, it's a story in a book that you're telling me about. So yeah.
Adele, maybe I can just relate this story, this thing. It's like Adele's granddaughter is 4 years old, and there's 3 dogs here. And I one day said, "Come with me. Come, let's go and pick up the poo." And this must have been maybe 8 months ago or so. She is the amazing poo spotter, and she helps me pick up the poo. And so, so it doesn't bother her,
That's the thing.
This dog poo. So 2 days ago, in the past week, we got 2 kittens, and they do their thing in the box, and she just takes the packet and takes the poo out, and now she does it.
Nice.
She cleans out the cat trap.
Nice.
And you see, that's it, and it's not about just picking up poo. It's about how the grass grows and how the water says all those things. Isn't it froze?
You there?
You're back.
Yeah. I suppose it's that making them aware.
All embracing experience, yes.
Creating
and things grow from there,
Yeah, it's creating an air of awareness in their lives, Like when I'm out with the kids, I'll be like, isn't it a lovely day? Or like, look at the clouds, or like, look at the birds, what's the birds doing? Or like, if it's a rainy day, because London has obviously many rainy days, or like, if it's a hot day, I'll be like, don't forget, take a bit of that sunshine, keep it in your pockets. And then when it's a rainy day, I'll say, where's that sunshine? They put a smile on your face, so,
Yeah. Yes. And that's a great, beautiful. Walking barefooted on grass.
Walking barefoot.
Or just playing. It's so delightful. And it's yeah, the elements are how we choose to experience it.
It's interesting. It's really interesting. So just slightly moving away from that. You're still there?
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the COVID experience, because obviously that's a major part of the world right now. And like, what's it been like for you, and what's your take on South Africa and the way it's been dealt with and stuff? Not to get too, if you want to get a bit political, that's fine. But yeah, just maybe start with the COVID experience and then where it's at right now.
Yeah. Yes, it is. You see, it's there. It's a reality. It's something that is deadly. Actually. So right now we're at level 2. Not many restrictions and so on there. But I think from what my experience is that phew, I don't know if this is a huge conspiracy and how that some people have worked this thing out and know exactly what's unfolding and so on.
Like
engineered,
like it's been engineered.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyway, it's there, and that shoo, the social media and the technology we have nowadays have taken something away from humanity. I have that feeling. Our senses, as I said earlier on, are doorways to experience, really. So touch and smell and taste are very important in how we behave. This period has taken a lot away from us.
Even just being in proximity to each other. We need each other.
Touch, yes. The sounds of people's voices. It's all part of us. And I think governments are pushing or taking advantage of the situation. Governments around the world. If you look at here in South Africa, the ban on cigarettes. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you there now?
Yep.
So the ban on the sale of cigarettes and alcohol, they went way too far with that. Well, that is crazy. So they're taking advantage of the situation and seeing how far they can go in actually robbing the citizens of the country of their freedom, their basic rights. And of course, it goes down the line to policemen, to people who are working in governmental institutions and so on. And even businesses. It's crazy how things have unfolded in some instances. On the other hand, and I don't, a lot of people are saying there's a shift, there's a new normal and so on. I don't really subscribe to that. And the reason for that is that in most instances, people have been forced to spend some more time with social media and to spend a lot of time in front of the TV. There's no growth in that. whatever is on the TV or on social media is just is a whole lot of
It's noise.
bull. There's a whole lot of noise. So there's no growth in that. There's no shift in that. So, and you could even see it like coming out of when people started going to work, right? I think it was level 3 or something. The mistakes people were making, you know, it was crazy to see this happen. So I don't know about that. I don't know about a shift in consciousness. I don't know that, you know, people are becoming more aware. All the things we see happening in the United States, in Germany now recently, and so on, all these demonstrations and so on. It's not a shift. It's not an increase in consciousness. It is an edginess, you know, in societies. We
Not new either.
can't live. Sorry?
It's not new either.
Yeah.
I mean, these
Exactly.
protests and, you know, like, I mean, people think it's new. I was watching a documentary on Bob Marley last night, and in the 70s in Britain, I mean, the civil rights movement was going on in America. It was happening in Britain. You know what I mean? South Africa in the 70s, like, it's not new really, you know.
Yeah, individuals are isolated, and they're being fed what those whoever they are. you can see it. I mean, if you like on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, and you can see it. You're fed what they want you to see.
It's interesting what you said about taking away of our senses and that kind of thing. Like even now in the well, it's not really the aftermath because it's still going on. But people now walk around with half of their faces covered.
Exactly.
You know, so I don't see you.
That affects sight as well as smell and taste. 3 of your major senses.
And I don't like wearing it. Like I wear it when I go out, but I hate wearing that. I feel like I can't breathe with that thing on.
Yeah. So the experience, I mean, is taken away from you know, the full experience of life.
Do you know what it feels like to me? Like you were saying, do you know what it feels like to me? I feel like it's like conditioning. You know, like when you wanna say you wanna train a dog to become a killer, and you put it in a cage, and then you don't feed it for like 10 days, and then you start giving it like a little bit of meat if it does that, and then you give it a bit more if it does. That's what I feel like. I don't know who. I mean, I'm not like, I like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know what, but like that's what I feel, you know, is happening.
No,
I don't know who it is.
It is. It is. Here in South Africa, and it's most probably happening all over the world, is that the government is seeing that in spite of the ban on alcohol and cigarettes, there wasn't much protest. There weren't like hundreds of thousands of people going out in the street.
Yeah, because if it was normal, people would have protested because that's the thing. But because of this virus now, people just accepted it.
Yes. Yes.
It's crazy.
So, and they're gonna do something drastic because they know how far they can go. Yes, they're gonna do that.
It's mad.
But it is, well, it's affecting people. People are dying, and we've got to be very vigilant and careful in how we do things. It's very nice in that the whole hygiene education is now being taken serious, you know, with regards to this. But yeah, you know, you can't go to church. Yeah,
But
It's not
you know,
good.
the weird thing for me is over here in the UK, people have been going mad, but our lockdown was nothing like compared to you guys, or even I've heard like in Venezuela and those places where
Oh yes.
first 3 weeks you couldn't even leave your yards, you couldn't have alcohol, cigarettes. I mean, yeah, from the beginning, you could still go out once a day for exercise, and they relaxed that as time went on, and then like we were allowed to play golf and stuff. It was nothing like people don't understand like what it must be like. Imagine like people love to drink here, they love their pubs, they were complaining, but they could go and what do you call it, panic buy and stock there. People have had the opportunity, and we were still getting deliveries here non-stop. Like we were ordering food, and you know our fridges were stocked and stuff, whereas over there I don't think people can understand.
You couldn't
like,
even. Yeah.
I think about people in the
It
townships or people who
was
like,
horrendous. It was horrendous, and so the economic and financial repercussions. Whoa! We need many counselors now in South Africa and across the world, I suppose.
yeah.
The
Mental health is definitely mental health.
suicide rate. Yeah.
Suicide.
Suicide rate is increasing. You know, small businesses are suffering, and big businesses are suffering. You know, and it seems like, okay, the government, people who still have jobs are the people who work in government.
Or in banks.
Not particularly, eh? The banks are suffering. The banks are suffering as well. The guys like Vodacom and MTN and Chelsea, they are booming.
Thriving.
They are
online.
booming.
Everything that's online.
Yeah.
Network coverage, or you know, service providers.
And, you know, app developers and all those guys. They really make it. But otherwise, it is really a depression of, you know, of huge proportion. Never seen before.
So yeah, man. I mean, that's Let's just to kind of round things up or finish off and stuff. Do you have any final thoughts or things you want to share or say, and then I'll
well, our minds are incredible. Our minds are actually the doorway to who we are. So we must be careful what we put in there. Like many people have said, you know, it's a garden to be cultivated and looked after in a very delicate way, so that you don't plant weeds, but plant and cultivate things that are going to be useful. So one has got to do that, and really be mindful and practice in how to do that. You know, acquire the tools to remain mindful. And I believe that will ensure that there's happiness all the time, actually. We're all over the place with.
Oh, here we go.
Over there. Go, let me tell her.
Hello to Uncle Doug.
Hello, young man. Wow, you're getting so tall. Oh, hello. Welcome. Nice to see you. Hello, Isabella.
My uncle.
Welcome.
Doggy.
She's being silly.
Why is it a doggy?
It's not a doggy.
Yes, it is.
It's Uncle Dougie.
He is a doggy.
You're saying you're a doggy, a Dougie.
A doggy, you're a doggy.
No, Uncle Dougie.
Uncle Dougie.
Doggy, not
Douglas.
doggy. He's a doggy.
Uncle Douglas.
Uncle
Read my
Douglas.
name there.
He's a doggy.
Uncle Douglas.
Uncle Douglas.
Yes.
Uncle
Oh, well, thanks.
Where's the other young man?
Nan is
He's,
called
he's
dog.
outside. So let's
Bye-bye.
finish off the podcast.
Uncle Dog.
Thank you so much for coming on, Dogs. Uncle.
Dog.
Isan Max,
Goodbye.
say don't forget to like and subscribe to Other Side of the Sun podcast.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the other side of the sun.
Like, subscribe.
Why
Thank
do
you
you
so
walk
much.
away? Like and subscribe.
This has been The Other Side of the Sun.
Yeah.
Daddy has a YouTube channel.